What's up, everybody? It's your boy Hector P, and we're back for season 2 of Life of Impact. And as you can tell, we're not only doing audio, but we're also on video. And boy, oh boy, am I excited to get this season going. I've got a lot of very successful people coming on as guests. One of which is going to be joining us tonight is Mr. Felix Chavez. I've known this gentleman for several months now, a little bit less than a year, but me and him have gotten in touch with each other through a mutual friend of ours. We're in business together. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this gentleman is very, very successful. He's very, very wise. And I say that with a lot of love, Felix. And yeah, I just can't wait to introduce him. So here is Mr. Felix Chavez. Felix, welcome, brother.
Thank you, Hector. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come in and talk to you and to your audience. It's not every day that you get a call to be able to share some of the successes that you're having and some of the things that have worked for you. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Again, I am honored to have you on here. You and me, we created a relationship, a friendship through our mutual friend Roseanne, who was also a guest on my first season. So if you haven't listened to any of those yet, guys, go back, check us out on Spotify, podcast, anywhere you listen to your podcast. Just look us up, Life of Impact, and check out her episode. So she's a great woman. Thank God she is still with us. For those of you who don't know, she was recently going through health issues with COVID. It really, really got bad to the point to where we were worried. But she's back,
Yeah.
and she is as amazing as ever, going 120%. And just it's just amazing to know that she's doing great and that she's still here with us. We're able to still have that friendship with her. So shout out to you, Roseanne. We love you, and we'll talk to you guys. We'll talk to you soon. But Mr. Chavez, again, welcome to the show. This podcast is all about impacting people's lives, and so that way they can go impact their communities, both in business and in their life in general. So we spoke briefly a little bit about what you're bringing to the table and the point that you want to make. And I love that you want to make this because a lot of people don't understand that when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's not as easy as people think. As far as you have to overcome the struggles, you got to have thick skin. You got to be able to deal with the negativity that comes along with it. So, Mr. Chavez, I'm going to let you just get into it. But the topic we're going to be talking about tonight is drive. So,
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll go all the way back, Hector, to the beginning of when I became a salesperson and when I realized that I did not have all the skills, but I had one thing that was going to help me propel and give me the ability to kind of stop along the way and learn some tools, and that's drive. I had a huge drive, and the reason that I had a huge drive was because I grew up as a migrant farm worker. We were working in fields when I was a kid from 7 years old all the way till about 13, 14 years old. So I knew how to work hard. And I always had that vision and ambition that I wanted to have certain things in life, the home, the cars and the family and money in the bank. But I knew that the drive was the key to a lot of things because drive can allow you to overcome some of the pitfalls that you have because you continue to focus and continue to go even when the hills are steep, kind of like a locomotive. Those things don't stop unless there's some kind of emergency on the road, on the railroad, and you've got to keep on going. So drive was the biggest thing for me.
awesome. So, you did mention about vision. Kind of expand a little bit about that. What is how does vision come into play with creating that strategy in order for you to get to where you want to go? And give us like for myself, for example, I have a goal, right? and I know what it is that I want to get, but that goal necessarily isn't the vision that I have for the future. So, kind of explain the difference between that and a goal, and how you can create that strategy for you to get there.
Well, it sometimes it starts off with a vision, right? You have a picture in your mind, a or you see someone else have the success that you want, right? So you have this mental picture. And if you don't have a mental picture, you've got to go out there and find pictures that allow you to dream, allow you to be able to just grab things out there in the real world that you could become. And for other people, it happens with the focus of being able to plan first and setting it on paper, and then take that information and visualize what you're going to be able to accomplish. So I, for the first 5, 6 years, I had a plan, and I could write them down every year, but I wasn't real successful in hitting that plan because I lacked that picture, that visualization. So when I started to figure out why I was hitting some of those goals, I started to match both the plan, and a plan can be as simple as goals 1 through 5. Once you get past 5 goals, and really three is ideal, it becomes difficult to be able to hit everything. It's
Right.
kind of the same thing in the business that I'm in. It's hard to put the hat of being expert at every single office opportunity or field that we support.
Yeah.
You've got to specialize in a few that make you extremely good. But I tell you, for me, it was being able to visualize and being able to see that picture and have that ambition to go get that picture.
That's awesome. So you kind of mentioned something about wearing different hats, and as entrepreneurs, when you're starting your own business, when whatever field it is, you do have to not only, like for us, direct sales. Not only do you have to sell the product, but sometimes you have to do administrative work. Sometimes you have to do the marketing. Sometimes there's different areas of that business that you didn't necessarily think of when you got started. So how can somebody who's getting started in entrepreneurship, somebody's building that business, how can they manage their time, or what is it that you would recommend that they focus on that would benefit them more, or is there any really way to get around that or help that process?
Oh, great question. Um, if you're going to be in sales, if you're going to be in direct sales, if you're going to be in any type of sales, sales is the key, right? So you've got to have one thing that is going for you, and that's be able to set appointments, whether they're appointments on Zoom, whether it's an appointment over a phone call, a face to face. You've got to have the drive and the plan of being able to hit those targets. So if your goal is to hit 3 appointments on a daily basis, it might take you 15, 20, 30 calls. So then you have to work your plan of from this time to this time, whether it's 8 o'clock to noon, or whether it's 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, or whether it's 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Whatever your target is, in other words, people work different fields. And some people work earlier, some people work, at home, some people work evenings. So if you're trying to target different audiences, you've got to be able to customize your schedule to be able to hit that target. Once you identify that, the one thing I'll tell you is that you can't be, for example, paying bills for your agency, for your business during working hours. You got to go do those outside of the working hours. Why? Because now you're giving away time that you could generate appointments, and appointments are it. Show me a person that can fill an appointment book, and I'll show you a person who has huge success. Why? Because no sales are ever derived without appointments. And that's a key. Activity promotes productivity. Productivity, in turn, promotes more activity. And that activity and productivity becomes a cycle.
That's awesome. I've never pictured it that way. Activity to productivity, productivity back to. That's awesome. Um, okay, so when it comes to doing the things that it takes for you to have that success, how can somebody keep themselves from falling of the trap of just running their wheels? Because I've done that, and I know a lot of people that have done that, where they're working their business, but they're working the things that doesn't necessarily put money in their pocket. So it's like, instead of running, a marathon in Europe, they're running on a treadmill that has a camera of Europe on there. You get what I'm saying? So how can somebody prevent themselves from just wasting time? Because time is money.
Great question. We talked about activity leads to productivity. The problem is that a lot of people confuse activity for productivity. They're two different things. You can be active all day long, right? Active, generating calls, receiving calls, trying to set appointments. But the productive moment is to set the appointment. Once you have an appointment set, now you have someone that you can truly talk to about your particular product, particular service that you're going to offer, and without having that activity, the productivity, it is non-existent, right? But the issue is, back to activity. A lot of people confuse it. Activity
Right.
is showing up to work. If people have traditional jobs, it's great that you show up to work. It's great that you clock in. But how many people do you know that come in and they bring their breakfast and their coffee and they clock in at 8 o'clock, but they don't get to work till 8:30? Well, guess
Right.
what? You just lost 30 minutes, and those first 30 minutes of your day are the most productive. Those are the ones that you should have the most energy. Why? Because it's when you're focused the best. It's harder to be focused if you're working an 8 to 5 job
Hmm.
after you come back from lunch and you had some tacos, and it's different.
Right.
Your energy's not there.
Right.
So back to the key word, activity. Don't confuse it. Don't confuse activity for productivity.
Now, you brought up a good example about starting off the day and using that first amount of, few minutes to be able to get that productivity going. But what if somebody has a job, right, and they go to work from 5 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. That's my schedule, and then they want to work on their business, because for a lot of people it's a side thing.
Yeah.
It's not their main income source, right? So for somebody that has that type of schedule, at the end of the day, they're tired. So I know that that's where drive comes in a
Yeah.
lot. It has a lot to do with it. And you already know me, my drive is through the roof. That's why I'm doing so many things. But for somebody that, is just, getting into that atmosphere, right? How do they create that drive? How do they create that sustainability, or that consistency for them to have that success?
Hector, for me, it was hard to develop that early on in my life, in my 20s. Going to school, working at the same time, trying to, hit a gig on a part time basis, to be able to develop a skill and develop a business. It's not easy, but just guess what? As a family man with a business, with kids, with a wife, with responsibilities for boards that you belong to, and trying to develop a side hustle also to be able to build a business that can be extremely fruitful, it becomes even more difficult. So you got to be able to target your time when you can. So if all you can do is give your side hustle 2 hours a week, then make it the best 2 hours possible. Okay, if it's between 6 and 8 on a Tuesday, or 6 and 8 on a Thursday, you've got to be able to be ready, mentally ready and focused to tackle that deal, that opportunity during those 2 hours. Because throughout the day, you probably have been working for someone else. You're making someone else money. Yeah, you're earning a paycheck, and all of us have been there, right? And that's a great way to be able to develop yourself. You're learning something even at that job that
Mhm.
you might not want to be there forever, right? But you take those skills now and you add to those skills. But you got to ask yourself questions like, could I, would I, and should I? The coulda, woulda, shoulda. The one thing I cannot do and will not do, and will die not doing this, is that it'd be extremely difficult for me to be on my last days in this world and be thinking I should have done this, I could have done this. What if? Oh
Mm,
man, that would be extremely difficult.
yeah.
So that's the motivator for me. So you asked me a question of how could you create that drive. You have to know who you are. You have to experience who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you got to ask yourself questions. Sit down and write yourself 10 questions. Could I survive? Could I be a person that had an ambition but didn't do anything about it? Am I going to be okay with it? It's like seeing the most beautiful woman in the world, and she's single, and you're young and single, and you don't take the approach to go ask that young lady out.
Yeah.
What happens? You'll walk away regretting that, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with our business. So how to create that drive is you've got to find out who you are, and those are questions that are actually easier because it's you asking yourself questions. If it has to be in front of the mirror, if it has to be on paper, it has to be done.
Take an inventory of your strengths and weaknesses. That's awesome.
Correct.
That's something I learned later on in my entrepreneurship journey. And viewers, it really does help because then you can start working on those things that you're good at, and the things that you're not good at, you can develop, or just let somebody else, let outsource those things to help you. So if that's an option, um, you had mentioned talking about skills. What are five general skills that an entrepreneur must have? Like, there's no way that you're going to have success without these five skills.
Never let them see you struggle. Number one, no matter how bad it is, even if you're sleeping in a dang car, do not let people see you struggle. And the reason is because uh, people in this world will take that approach that now you're beneath them, and it might not be like that for everybody, but now they have something that they can uh, pick on you and label on you. It just works better when you don't let people see you struggle. Now it's okay to be struggling. It's okay to not be there. It's human nature that we all go through it, right? We all have had businesses in the past that might not have been exactly what we wanted to create, but we learn from that, and you get to a point where you figure out the things that really matter. So number one, be positive. You know, be extremely positive. Everyone in this life wakes up at some point, puts their feet on the floor, and has to get up. Maybe your body hurts. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you wake up extremely jolly. Maybe you don't. But when you go, most of us take the approach to go to the bathroom or take a shower, brush our teeth. Those are 20, 30 minutes, whatever time it is. Those are the moments that you've got to be reminding yourself who you are. I have this thing with my son. I put him in bed every night. He's a 7-year-old little guy, and I ask him, "Who are you?" So he says his prayers, and we ask him, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm Isaiah. I can." Okay. So what else? I'm blessed. I'm loved. I'm favored by God. I'm a handsome little boy, and I'm going to be a huge success. So there are affirmations. And if I can have affirmations on a daily basis of who I am and how I'm going to approach this day, it makes a totally different pathway to success that day. But if I start my day already, complaining, my back hurts, it's not going to be a great day, I don't feel that great. That's the approach that you're taking. So you got to be positive. Number two is, you know, when you start your day with the plan, the focus. So if you've got to spend 5-10 minutes the day before, as the day terminates, or you work, or you're at your desk and you're ending your day, you got to set your goal for the next day. And don't go crazy getting 5, 6, 7, 10 things. Get 3 things that you can accomplish next tomorrow. And if it's only one because your schedule is extremely tight, then go after that one, but put 2 and 3 if possible. And if you don't accomplish 2 and 3, then the next day you start with those 2, 3, and add the third one. So it's always a rhythm. It's the same thing in playing basketball. It's the same thing in playing sports. It's the same thing in playing golf. It's a rhythm. And it's the same style in your business. The rhythm allows you to get better and better and better. But without the rhythm, without, with people going up and down like a roller coaster, it becomes extremely difficult to create that business. So you said about 5 things, but I'll give you 3. And the last one is, I started off with being positive, right? But you got to also be positive with the people that are around you. And that's a hard one. I have my stumbles like everyone else, but when I have those stumbles, I've got to remind myself, did I accomplish the communication style that allowed me to achieve a sale, a conversation that allows me to build on for tomorrow? So, those are the things that I would tell you that are extremely important to me. Being positive, being looking at yourself with the goals to accomplish. They're small,
Right.
and then being able to communicate well in a positive way with people.
I like it. I like it. I like it. And I actually wrote down notes for myself because there's a couple of things that I 100% agree with. I do want to elaborate on the first point that you made about being positive and not letting people see you struggle, because I don't want to get the viewers confused by what you mean, because I already know what you're talking about. But I, when you say don't let people see you struggle,
Hmm.
don't be fake either.
Hmm.
I know that's what you meant, but I just want to make sure when when you're being positive, when you're going out there and showing people that positivity, even though that you may be struggling, even though that you may be behind on your mortgage, even though that your vehicle may be up for repo, even though that you don't know if you're going to have food on the table the next day, even though whatever the case may be, don't be fake, okay? Because people are going to see right through that. But at the same time, don't let that be on the forefront of your mind. Don't let that deter your focus from what you need to be doing, which really is about helping other people.
Yeah.
Because whether you're selling products or you're selling a service, you are there, or whatever it is, whatever your business is or your entrepreneurship journey is, you are there because you want to help others. You want to solve other people's problems.
Yeah.
So, in my understanding of what you're saying, Felix, is don't focus on the internal.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
that's what I meant. And
yeah,
it takes me back to a period in my life where I left a job, right, that was pretty good. And I went out and ventured in a business that Roseanne and I met each other in, right? And I struggled. After about a year and a half, I did really well. The second year, I struggled. I ended up living out of my car for 30 days. But
yeah,
guess what? No one knew that. The only person who knew that was me. And that's what I mean
yeah,
is
exactly.
problems are, what cars are for with windows,
Hmm.
especially electric windows. When you get out of your car or to an appointment, or you get out of your car to go to work, stick all the problems in there and shut the door.
Yeah,
Because when you come back to open that car, your problems are going to be extremely happy to see you again. Like, oh my gosh. But you know what? If I sit here and start telling everybody my problems are this, my problems are that, my mind remembers that, and it makes them bigger and bigger and
yep,
bigger. And now all you can talk about is problems.
yeah. And on the sales side of this, because this is something that I experienced myself when I first started in car sales. I was all about trying to get the sale done because I needed that paycheck. I needed that sale, but people saw that.
Hmm.
And I didn't get that many sales at first because I wasn't focused on the customer, on the client. I was focused on me getting paid.
Yeah.
But once I started renewing my mind and changing the way I thought and focused on the client versus my struggles,
Yeah.
one after the
Totally
other.
different.
Yeah.
It,
It's amazing because you start feeling better.
yeah.
And that positivity that you're projecting, that person that you're wanting to be, you end up becoming organically.
Yeah,
So
you're right. So imagine going to work, to a job that is stressful, that is always, battles. How excited are you? But if you come to work with people that are positive, that are happy, that are exercise, that are attractive in a certain way, right? Because of their positivity, it becomes a different energy. And energy has a huge way of being able to develop success. So good energy is extremely important.
definitely. So let me ask you about that too, because sometimes people work in environments that is not conducive to that positivity, right? So how would somebody protect themselves from that negative energy?
I think a lot of us have had jobs like that, right? Where we work in places that we want to be able to accomplish our goals, be able to move up in the ladder, and there's someone that's blocking you, or there's someone who brings everybody down. And you've got to remove yourself in your mind from those conversations. The conversations that don't make you any money, don't help anybody, and don't lead you to the right path of success.
Okay,
So
say that again.
the conversations that don't make any money. How
Mhm.
many conversations do you hear? Man, 30 minutes. This is what I'm going to do Saturday night, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. But there's no conversations of being able to be successful, right? The conversations that don't build you, don't support you, or that you can't support someone else's vision and encourage. Those are conversations that need to be left on the side. So time is valuable. Your success is even more valuable. Put your time and energy into things that are going to be positive and fruitful for yourself and for others. And when you help someone else, one way or another, that energy of help seems to come back and help you.
I agree 100%. Now, going back to vision, there's something that I use, and you can't really see it because it's behind on the other wall, but there's this thing called a vision board. Can you explain what that is and how it works and how somebody can, from square one, get started doing something like creating something like that for themselves?
For me, it's not a vision board; it's a vision paper, right? So I have this paper where I have my goals for the year, and they're never, like I said, more than five. And then I take those goals and I break them down into what I need to accomplish to be able to hit that. And then I take those steps of accomplishments that I need to create in order to hit those goals, and I put the what I want to achieve, or what the goals and the steps are going to give me. And it can be a vacation, it can be time, it can be an item that you can actually touch, right? Like a vehicle or a house. But at the same time, you can put how you feel, because we're driven by emotion. And if you don't believe me, go to the grocery store, and when you're putting your items on the grocery conveyor belt, look around and see what's next to you. All the things that are there are stuff that are emotionally tied to you. Candy bars, sweet things that will make people feel better. Think back about buying your first car. What do most people do? They get into the car and they feel themselves in the seat. Most people do this. They grab the mirror, and instead of fixing the mirror to look back, they grab the mirror and they look at themselves. It's important that we feel good.
I've done
you,
that.
you step out of the car, you close it, and you look at yourself in the reflection. I mean, it's
Yeah,
about us, right?
yeah,
But yes, get set well emotionally, because you need to be well emotionally to be able to hit all those goals, those visions, those steps, to be able to hit that one thing or the few things that you want to be able to accomplish.
outstanding. Okay, so quick question: what three books would you recommend to help people create that uh, emotional and mental strength that they would need to get through uh, being an entrepreneur? And what books would you recommend that helps you create that drive? What that helps you understand what it means to have that drive?
For me, the very first book that I ever read that it really had an impact on me was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Many people in direct sales read that, but that book talked about things that I had never ever aspired to become, or that I had checked myself. Oh my gosh, I've gone through that, right? Or it talked about thinking of items, or seeing things become a reality, right? So visualization was huge. And that book goes into major detail on a lot of things, and it's an easy read. Most people can read that, in a day or two. And Napoleon Hill has more books. The other book for me that has been impactful is the E-Myth, because it really allows you to, once you get to a certain level, you cannot be the expert at everything. You've got to be able to find people that are really good at certain things that autom- give you automation for your business, and scale your business. So those are two great books. There's a bunch of other books, that I've read, but those two books have been very impactful for me.
Awesome. And actually, that kind of takes me to scripture where it says in the Bible, I think it's Hosea, it says, "My people perish for lack of vision." And it's true, because if you can't see where you're going, if you can't see that person that you want to become, it's very hard. Now, it's possible that it can happen, but it's a lot easier if you can see it. And a friend of mine, he has a book, Presley Swaggerty, and the title of the book is "See It, Believe It, Achieve It." And if you can see it, if you can see yourself, you know, being successful, whatever the definition of success for you is. For me, is being able to take care of my loved ones and not have to worry about finances. If I
Yeah.
can see that and I believe that I have the abilities and the skills and the drive, like you mentioned, to get there, then I can achieve it. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
when.
But a lot of times when you're brand new in the business, or you're just starting to have a dream of being able to accomplish things, you don't believe it yet. Okay. And that's the hard part. It's
Right.
hard to believe it. So you've got to train your mind, visualization, in order to start believing it.
Yeah.
And the more the brain is a magical thing. What you feed it, whether it's positive or negative,
Hmm.
whether you support it or whether you feed it stuff that will not support it,
Yeah.
it will learn.
Yeah.
So, you talked about the Bible verse, Psalms 23, yeah, walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
Hmm.
Right. So it's scary to go out and do
Yeah.
something that you've never done before, and you don't know whether you're going to accomplish or not.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't believe it yet, and that's okay. What's not okay is to not get out of your comfort zone to try to go accomplish that, because then you go back to the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and
Yeah.
that's a difficult place to be at. So you've got to take that risk. You got to take that leap of faith. You've got to take that step and say, you know what? Am I going to be happy? I probably won't be happy with results, right? But if I
Right.
succeed, I'm going to be extremely happy. If I fail, I know that either A, I needed to improve my plan, or B, maybe this road is not the road I need to take. So you'll learn something from it. But not trying, not participating in that, that's a difficult one.
Yeah. And I 100% agree. Are there any books, other books?
I'm sorry.
Are there any other books that you wanted to recommend?
There's a man. I have a lot of these books to give away, and I try to give them away to people. But there's a book that is, and I sorry I'm giving you my back here, but there's a book that talks about money, and it's oh my gosh, I have it here somewhere. It's don't be a sucker, okay? About money, figure out what companies are doing to you. And what I mean by that is, if you drive from your house to the grocery store, just count how many advertisements there are. Every advertisement that is out there, it's set to be able to figure out how to get every last single dollar out of your pocket. That's what they're for.
Hmm.
Okay. So the philosophy of going and buying a house with a 30-year mortgage, somebody invented that. It wasn't really made for us to be able to have the house faster, make the most amount of money, but it's for someone to make the most amount of money, and it's not you.
Yeah.
So if you can shorten that path, there's different things that you can do, right? Buy a car cash. I mean, not everybody can do that, right? But buy a car cash instead of buying it on a loan. Pay off your credit cards. Do the snowball effect. Have credit, right? Credit is hugely important. There's a lot of little things, but one of the other things is what can you do to have two, three, four streams of income, even if it's passive income that you know that you're going to be able to get down the road that is safely set aside. So there's a lot of things that you can do when it comes to figuring out, what's going to be best for you.
Out freaking standing. I loved having you on, Mr. Chavez. I love everything that you brought to the table, and I loved all of the knowledge and the wisdom that you dropped on our viewers. So we're gonna take this last couple of minutes and just have a little bit of fun. I'm gonna ask you some random questions, just a little
Okay.
bit know more about you, the way your mind works, and just to kind of see what we can bring out of the closet, so to speak.
All right.
All right. So the first question is, what was your biggest failure?
Um, I think back to being young and not being confident and having to learn that and struggling with that early on in life for whatever reason. I don't know why that was there, but having fear dominate me young was difficult. And once I was able to learn that it was just something that was here, it was a simple process. It's the 6 inches or less between the ears
Yeah.
that fear lived in, and all I had to do was grab it and throw it out. And once I was able to do that, my gosh, life takes a different role.
Yes, sir. And 6 inches is the average. Mine's about 8. I got a big ass head. So. All right. So next question: if you were to go back, knowing where you're at now and knowing all the struggles and all the things that you learned over time, and the strategies and everything that you've learned to be successful, and where you're at today, and you were to go back to your 18-year-old self, what is one piece of advice that you would absolutely give to help you achieve that success a whole lot faster?
Hector, were you reading my mind last night or what? I was having this dream last night about going back to my 18, 21-year-old self and saying, do not sweat the small stuff. Okay. Don't waste stuff on the little things that don't make you any money, that don't help you progress, and don't help you accomplish relationships that are going to be fruitful for you and that you're fruitful for someone else, right? Those are the times that you waste time that is precious that you can never get back. And time is impossible to erase. You can't turn that clock back. So those are the things that it's amazing you're asking me that question, and I had a dream about that last night.
Well, it's awesome how God works and brings things together. So, um, one final question: most embarrassing moment that you had while being in direct sales?
Oh my gosh. Most embarrassing. I was once, I had an ambition to be able to speak to groups, not more, and more than a few people, right?
Right, right,
And I finally got the opportunity, and I think the first night was 20 people, and I got to a point where I did speak to 400 people, and other times, but that very first night I was in a roll. I felt great. It was fantastic, and then guess what? I forgot my line. I forgot what I was going to say. And it took me probably a good minute to remember. And I had to dance around with something else to talk
right,
about. And
right.
most people uh, wouldn't have noticed, but I got nervous and I
Yeah,
started to sweat.
yeah.
And that was embarrassing.
Well, that's awesome. I actually had a similar situation happen to me, so I feel for you. I really do, because that's terrifying, especially when you're in front of peers and people that actually look up to you. And so yeah, so all right, again, Mr. Chavez, thank you very much. I am honored to have you on the podcast. And were there any questions that I didn't ask that you wanted to address?
No, you were awesome. I knew that you were doing the podcast, and I knew that you've had a lot of success with it. Now that you're putting it in actual visual
Right.
segments, it's going to be probably even better because you're a very good host. So I appreciate you having me on today and giving me the opportunity to come and speak.
I definitely appreciate that. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the last 60 seconds to go ahead and just promote whatever it is that you're doing. You got anything coming up? Whatever you do want to talk about, the floor is yours, brother.
Well, thank you. Felix Chavez and Associates is really an insurance company, right? We do auto, home, commercial, life, and financial. But the one thing that I'm passionate about, the one thing that I can tell you that can really be a huge success and a difference for you is life insurance with living benefits. And that's what I do. Imagine having cancer, or imagine, knowing someone that has had some kind of heart attack or aneurysm, or maybe had a long-term care issue where they can't move anymore. All of those things we can't prevent. We don't know if they're ever going to happen to us, or we're going to have a very long, fruitful life. But if you had those moments, or you know somebody that's had those moments, what if you could solve those situations financially with the life insurance policy? And not every policy is like that. 90% of the policies out there in America do not have living benefits. And I've had one policy that has that capability for the last 7 months. And that's what I'm passionate about, because that is where you can really change somebody's trajectory and family's trajectory financially, when you can really help them. Instead of seeing all these events that are happening out there to raise funds and GoFundMe for people that have passed away or are struggling. So that's where I can really be of assistance to someone.
Awesome. And what are your social media contacts? How can people reach out to you?
Real easy. Our website is chavezinsure.com, Chavezinsure.com. So that's our website. We have a lot of stuff in there. We have our phone numbers. You want to get a hold of us, go through our website first.
Awesome. And for all you listeners and viewers out there, I will have that link in the description below. So make sure, if you're looking for insurance, if you're looking for any kind of help, get with Mr. Chavez. He's an amazing person, always looking out for what's best for you. Again, Mr. Chavez, I am honored to have you on the show. It's a pleasure just knowing you personally as a friend and as a business partner. And for all of our viewers and listeners, remember, you were born for greatness. Now go walk in it.